Professor Pes, these numbers are a biological impossibility. You are claiming these men are a century old? It's a fairy tale!
In 1999, a researcher named Dr. Gianni Pes presented data on extreme male longevity in Sardinia at a demography conference in Montpellier. Data that was met with deep skepticism from leading demographers worldwide. Belgian demographer Dr. Michel Poulain was invited to Sardinia to verify the findings. After rigorous examination of birth and death records, the ages were confirmed to be accurate. The formal blue zone identification followed in 2000, with the findings published in Experimental Gerontology in 2004. This is the Barbagia Registry. Unlike the coastal Okinawans, this population lives in a high-altitude, rugged environment. What Dr. Pes and Dr. Michel Poulain discovered wasn't just a diet. It was a mechanical ecosystem. A complete system of biological inputs so deeply embedded in daily life that the population practicing it had no name for what they were doing. They were simply living. In the rest of the developed world, women outlive men by an average of 5 to 7 years. This gap is one of the most consistent findings in all of demographic science, observed in virtually every country, every culture, every era of modern medicine. In the Barbagia Mountains, the ratio of male to female centenarians is nearly 1:1. This is the male longevity paradox, and it is the central question of this registry. To understand why this matters, consider what it means statistically. In most developed countries, for every male centenarian, there are 4 or 5 female centenarians. In the Barbagia villages, that ratio collapses to near parity. These are not isolated individuals who happened to survive. This is a population-level phenomenon, geographically clustered, demographically verified, and reproducible across multiple birth cohorts. Something in this environment is protecting men from the biological and behavioral forces that cut their lives short everywhere else on Earth. Today, we are declassifying the 8 clinical anchors of the Sardinian Archive. We are moving past the romanticized Mediterranean diet to look at the specific myokine and polyphenolic signals that allow the Sardinian heart to resist decay for over a century. Each anchor is a piece of the same system. None of them works in isolation. Together, they construct something that no pharmaceutical program has yet been able to replicate. Anchor 1, the Cannonau Signal, flavonoids. The registry highlights a specific regional wine, Cannonau. This is not a story about alcohol. This is a story about what is inside the grape. Clinical analysis reveals that Cannonau grapes contain 2 to 3 times the level of flavonoids compared to other wine varieties. This is not a marketing claim. It is a result of the grape's biology. Cannonau, known internationally as Grenache, develops a thick, polyphenol-rich skin in response to the intense ultraviolet exposure of the Sardinian highlands. The vine is under stress. Its biological response to that stress produces the very compounds that protect the humans who consume it. These polyphenols contribute to vascular health through antioxidant and anti-inflammatory pathways, helping to maintain vascular flexibility across decades of daily consumption. In Sardinia, this isn't drinking. It's the daily administration of a cardiovascular protective compound. Consumed in moderation, with food, and in the company of others. 1 to 2 small glasses per day taken at the end of a working day spent on steep terrain. Not as medicine, as culture. The distinction matters because the cultural container, the shared table, the conversation, the unhurried pace, is itself part of the biological signal. Strip away the social context and pour the same wine alone in front of a screen, and you have changed the pharmacology of the experience more than you might expect. The Barbagia Registry records the full system, not just the compound. Anchor 2. The sheep and goat milk peptide. The primary dairy source in the Barbagia region isn't cow's milk, but sheep and goat milk. This distinction is metabolically significant in ways that the modern food environment has largely overlooked. These sources are rich in medium-chain fatty acids, specifically capric acid. Unlike long-chain fats, which are processed through the lymphatic system and can contribute to arterial lipid accumulation over time, medium-chain fatty acids are transported directly to the liver and burned for energy. They bypass the arterial storage pathway entirely. In a population consuming dairy as a cornerstone of daily nutrition from childhood through extreme old age, this metabolic difference accumulates into a structural cardiovascular advantage across a lifetime. But the registry identifies a second mechanism. Both sheep and goat milk contain meaningful concentrations of tryptophan, which serves as a precursor for serotonin synthesis in the brain, contributing to serotonin precursor availability in the aging brain. Serotonin is not merely a mood molecule. It plays a documented role in gut integrity, immune regulation, and cognitive stability in elderly populations. The Sardinian shepherd consuming traditional dairy products was not supplementing for brain health. He was eating what his culture had always eaten. The neurological protection was built into the food supply. The contrast with modern Western dairy consumption is instructive. Industrially produced cow's milk, processed, pasteurized, and stripped of its traditional fermented forms, delivers a different fatty acid profile and a different microbial environment to the gut. The Sardinian preference for sheep and goat milk aged into hard cheeses is not a regional quirk. It is a dietary architecture with measurable biological consequences. Anchor 3. The sourdough ferment, glycemic load. Sardinians consume a traditional sourdough bread called pane curaçao. It is a thin, crisp, double-baked flatbread with roots in the pastoral culture of the island, historically made to last for weeks in the mountain pastures, carried by shepherds who needed food that would not spoil at altitude. Unlike commercial yeast breads, this slow-fermented sourdough uses lactobacilli, lactic acid bacteria, that produce organic acids during fermentation, which lower the postprandial glycemic response. These organic acids slow the digestion of starch, reducing the speed at which glucose enters the bloodstream. Research suggests this results in a bread with a significantly lower glycemic index than commercial white bread, though it is worth noting that the precise effect varies depending on fermentation conditions, flour type, and preparation method. What this means in practice is a bread that does not spike insulin. And insulin spikes, repeated across thousands of meals over decades, are one of the structural drivers of arterial inflammation and cardiovascular disease. By avoiding the insulin spikes that drive systemic inflammation, the Sardinian table quietly protects the arterial lining across a lifetime. Not dramatically, not with a single intervention, but consistently, meal by meal, year by year, for 100 years. The modern Western equivalent, commercially produced white bread, leavened with fast-acting yeast and stripped of its fermentation process, produces a glycemic response that the human metabolic system was not designed to manage at the frequency most people deliver it. Pane curaçao is not health food. It is simply food made the way food was made before industrial processing replaced traditional fermentation. Anchor 4. The slope constant, metabolic cost. The Barbagia villages are built on inclines. This is not a lifestyle choice. It is geography. And it turns out that geography may be one of the most powerful cardiovascular interventions ever documented. Dr. Pess noted that every errand, from visiting a neighbor to going to the bakery, from checking on livestock to attending a family gathering, requires a vertical load. The villages of Nuoro and Ogliastra sit on terrain with inclines ranging from gradual rises to steep volcanic slopes. The average altitude of the Blue Zone villages is approximately 650 meters above sea level. Nothing in daily life is flat. Nothing is effortless. The body is always working against gravity. This constant uphill movement provides a sustained cardiovascular and musculoskeletal demand that maintains metabolic rate and muscle function into advanced age. The heart is exercised not through planned sessions, but through the unavoidable architecture of the place. Blood pressure is regulated not through medication, but through the daily requirement of movement against elevation. Muscle mass is preserved not through resistance training programs, but through the simple mechanical necessity of climbing to wherever you need to be. In Sardinia, the gym is the commute. And unlike a gym, no one cancels their membership. No one decides it is too inconvenient. No one stops going because the motivation runs out. The terrain is simply there, every day, for 100 years, demanding its daily payment in physical effort and returning it in cardiovascular protection. 5. The Shepherd's Gait, Neurokinetics. Many Sardinian centenarians were traditional shepherds. This occupation involves walking 5 to 10 miles daily over uneven, rocky terrain, not the smooth paths of a park, not the predictable surface of a treadmill, but the genuinely unpredictable landscape of a Mediterranean mountain environment. Loose stones, uneven grades, sudden drops, shifting footing. This unstable ground walking forces the brain to perform constant proprioceptive micro-adjustments. Proprioception. Proprioception. The body's sense of its own position in space is the neurological system responsible for balance. It is processed through the cerebellum, the brain's balance center, and it depends on a continuous flow of sensory information from the muscles, joints, and skin of the feet and lower limbs. When that sensory environment is consistently challenging, when the ground beneath you is never quite the same twice, the cerebellum remains in a state of active engagement across decades of daily use. The neural pathways responsible for balance become faster, more accurate, and more resilient to the natural degradation of age. Falls are the leading cause of accidental death in Western seniors. They are not primarily a strength problem, they are a neurological problem. A Sardinian shepherd who has spent 60 years navigating rocky mountain terrain has been in continuous proprioceptive training for his entire working life. By the time he reaches 80, his balance system is not simply intact, it has been actively maintained and refined by the most demanding natural training environment available. The mountain is his rehabilitation program. It always has been. Anchor 6, the intergenerational buffer. In Sardinia, retirement is a foreign concept. The elders do not step aside at 65. They do not move into a separate category of social life defined by leisure and withdrawal. They remain the central authority figures in the household, the keepers of agricultural knowledge, the decision makers in family matters, the connective tissue between generations. This creates a strong sense of social purpose and intergenerational relevance. And this is not a soft psychological observation. It has a hard biological correlate. Clinically, sustained social purpose is linked to lower levels of interleukin-6, or IL-6, a key cytokine and primary marker of chronic systemic inflammation. Research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences confirms that more positive social relations in aging populations are directly associated with lower plasma IL-6 levels. Further research examining cumulative social advantage across a lifetime found that deeper, longer-term social connections are associated with lower levels of IL-6 and measurably slower biological aging at the cellular level. When the elders feel necessary, When their presence in the family and community structure is functionally irreplaceable rather than tolerated, their bodies maintain a measurably lower baseline of systemic inflammation. The body, it seems, is listening to the social signal. Tell it that it is still needed, and it invests differently in the cellular work of staying alive. The Western model of retirement, the sharp removal of occupational identity at a defined age, the transition from productive participant to comfortable observer, may be one of the most biologically costly social inventions of the modern era. The Sardinian model never made that invention. The elderly works differently as they age, but they never stop working. The inflammatory markers reflect this. 7. The minestrone diversity microbiome. The minestrone in Sardinia is a seasonal archive of local vegetables and legumes. It is not a fixed recipe. It is whatever is currently growing, whatever the garden or the hillside or the market has available in this particular week of this particular season. In spring, it contains one set of plants. In autumn, another. Across a lifetime of consumption, it becomes an extraordinarily diverse dietary record of the local botanical environment. By eating according to what is currently growing, the Sardinians provide their gut microbiome with a diverse fiber profile that changes continuously throughout the year. This matters because the gut microbiome, the community of bacteria resident in the digestive tract, requires diverse fiber sources to maintain its own diversity. A diet that delivers the same fibers in the same proportions every week feeds the same bacterial populations and allows others to decline. A diet that cycles seasonally through dozens of different plant varieties maintains a broader, more resilient microbial community. A diverse microbiome fosters the bacterial populations that maintain the integrity of the intestinal lining, protecting against the increased intestinal permeability associated with age-related immune decline. When the gut barrier holds, the bacterial compounds and inflammatory molecules that drive chronic systemic disease cannot enter the bloodstream unchecked. The Sardinian minestrone is not a supplement. It is a daily delivery system for microbial diversity, built into the cultural rhythm of cooking with what the season provides. 8. The pastoral equilibrium, sympathetic nervous system. Shepherding is a solitary but low-stress occupation. The Sardinian shepherd spends long hours alone on the mountain, walking, observing, maintaining a quiet attentiveness to his animals and his terrain. He returns to the village in the evening, to family, to shared meals, to the social fabric of a community where he is known and needed. Then he returns to the mountain. Sardinians live in a state of social proximity, but environmental solitude. This unique combination keeps the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, in a consistent state of rest. The sympathetic nervous system is not designed for chronic activation. When it remains elevated across years and decades, as it does in populations under persistent financial, social, or occupational stress, it produces a sustained inflammatory state that progressively degrades cardiovascular, immune, and neurological function. Research on the Sardinian Blue Zone identifies successful stress coping as one of the consistently documented factors associated with exceptional male longevity in this population. The pastoral rhythm builds recovery into the daily structure of life in a way that no modern wellness intervention has successfully replicated. The mountain provides genuine solitude, not the performed solitude of a meditation app, but the real solitude of hours spent alone in a landscape that does not demand anything from you except attention. The village provides genuine belonging, not the shallow connectivity of a social media feed, but the deep belonging of a community where your name has been known for 100 years. Over a lifetime, the body prioritizes anabolic repair over chronic stress response. and the result is written in the mortality data of the Barbagia Mountains. The Barbagia Registry proves that longevity isn't just about what you eat, it's about the mechanical demand of your environment. The Sardinian men didn't outlive the world because they were lucky. They outlived it because their environment never allowed their bodies to become stagnant. The male longevity paradox resolves when you understand what this environment was actually delivering. Flavonoid-dense wine in moderate daily doses, medium-chain fatty acids from traditional dairy, fermented bread that doesn't spike insulin, constant vertical movement built into every errand, decades of proprioceptive challenge from unpredictable mountain terrain, a social role that never expires, a seasonal diet that never delivers the same fiber profile twice, a daily rhythm of solitude and belonging that keeps the stress response permanently in recovery mode. None of these anchors requires wealth. None requires technology. None requires a prescription. What they require is an environment that demands them, and a culture that preserves them across generations without anyone needing to understand why they work. The data is clear. Whether it's the vertical hills of Nuoro or the sourdough ferment of the kitchen, the Sardinian system is built on movement, nutritive density, and social utility. The question is, if your environment doesn't demand your health, will you have the discipline to build one that does?